Hola, mi nombre es Ruby De Santiago, and I'm a part of the NWA Girl Gang team. I'm a transplant from the Bay Area. We moved here when I was a kid for one of my dad's jobs, and we ended up staying for 20 plus years. Over 20 years ago, my grandfather moved here to work at Tyson, and he let us all know that there was a lot of opportunity and there were a lot of jobs, so we packed up and came out to see the area, and it's been home ever since. I'm a single mom to a beautiful 11-year-old boy who has been the inspiration behind a lot of the work that I've done with the community locally and in Little Rock, where we spent some time. About 5 years ago, I graduated with my master's and was really trying to figure out where I wanted to go. In the middle of finding a job and a new place to live, I ended up moving back to Rogers, which is where my family lives. And while I was here, I applied to jobs all over the country and started to make friends locally as well. While I was applying to jobs, I decided to get involved in the community, helping people locally, volunteering at the Samaritan House and various food shelters in the area. And I started to see that the Northwest Arkansas that I knew had changed so much for the better. There were more community events. There were more activities for children like my son at Crystal Bridges. And overall, this small, tiny bubble felt so much more inclusive and warm, and it felt like home. I'm very passionate about the Latinx community, and for me, saying the X is very important because it means we're inclusive of people from so many different backgrounds, from the LGBTQIA community onward to include like everybody who feels affiliated under that name. And I have seen this area grow. In fact, my grandmother, my abuelita Maria, says that she helped to populate Northwest Arkansas because when they moved here 30 years ago, there were no Latin stores. You had to drive down to Springdale at least to hit maybe one store. And there were no translators in the schools. I used to get pulled out of class when I was in fourth grade to translate for parents until my mom found out and she went to the school and she was not happy about it. But yeah, I've seen this community grow and thrive. And that's actually one of the reasons why I picked living in Rogers out of the surrounding area, because there's so many different places you can live in now. There's Cave Springs, Bentonville has expanded, Centerton wasn't even on the map when I first lived here. And I decided to put down some roots here. And when I made that decision, I wanted my son to grow up in a very diverse community, which I still feel that in Rogers, and I've seen it grow so much. For example, I walked down to my favorite La Tortilleria Popular. That's where I go and get my fresh tortillas, or like I know what market to go get fresh cut of meat, and they know me by name and they know my family and they ask me about how we're doing. And I feel that love and that community, and I want to raise my son in that. Because I grew up in that with my family. We're very close. We were always at Tia's house for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for quinceañeras, for weddings. And I wanted him to grow up with that, with a strong sense of his cultural roots, because it's so important for me to still be a part of my community. I want to see more pride parades. I want to see more Latinx events and Marshallese and Vietnamese. I was so happy to see our family come together in our community during the Black Lives Matter movement, which is still continuing, and I want to see it continue to grow in this area, because when my family moved here, it there were still signs up in Springdale, signs that didn't welcome African American or Mexican families in the area. Those still existed in the early 90s. It boggles my mind. So when people say, we've come so far, we had a protest, for me, that's barely the beginning. We are just getting started in this movement to bring justice and equality for everybody. And I want to see not just the talk of diversity and inclusion, I want us to be fully immersed in it, where my son can be proud of the pride flag we have outside of our home, and he can talk about his cultural background. So my son is Korean and Mexican. I want my son to grow up in love and to understand that people come from all sorts of backgrounds and families can look so many different ways, and that's what makes us a beautiful community. And I think that's what I want to see in Northwest Arkansas. If there's anything I could change, it would be for people to be willing to come to the table and have these conversations with people that look different or believe differently than they do. Because I know that I've come a long way because I have sat down and had these conversations. I'm also a part of the LGBTQIA community here in Northwest Arkansas. And June 2020 looks very different from past Junes in my life. I've been able to march in Boston for Pride, in Little Rock, and actually one of the first Pride events I attended was by accident in Salt Lake City, being stuck in traffic. And I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic to see it and to celebrate with so many different people. And I don't think that the celebration is over. I think it's been put on pause for us. And I think that a big part of this, of our work right now, is to use our voices to talk about Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter, and to ensure that their stories are being told. Because right now it would be easy to jump into the rainbow and the corporate flags that people put up. But at the end of the day, the work that we are doing as part of the LGBTQIA community is to amplify the voices of those that are unheard. So for me, I'm still celebrating. I'm not celebrating the same way. I'm not able to go and march with my son and with my friends. I'm still in the trenches, ensuring that we are communicating events that are safe. My focus currently as a single mom, as a Latinx community member, as a working mom, is to make it through the day. Because there is a lot going on and there is a lot of hurt in the world. And I want to be there and be an ally for people that are going through a hard time, but also ensure that I take care of my mental health and my physical health, because I'm also part of silent disability as a type 1 diabetic and as a terrible asthmatic. It's a scary time. I quarantined for 12 weeks before I saw anybody, and I'm a very social person. I miss my friends, I missed my family, I miss hugging everybody, and I had to think about my son and I. How do we stay safe? How do we keep the people around us safe? And even though there are so many events that I wanted to be a part of, the way that I help is by donating my time from home, by working on social media, donating either money or Venmo or products that I can, maybe like hand sanitizer and water bottles for one of the protests. That's how I give back right now. And I think it's important that we figure out how we can give back to the community. And that's why I'm so excited about being a part of the Northwest Arkansas Girl Gang team, because their focus is on giving back and is on inclusivity. And it really hones in on the idea of equality and justice for all. And that's something I'm so passionate about. I'm feeling worried. I'm exhausted. I feel like I have to be on all the time for work and for my son and even for my family. There was a moment when COVID started where I had so many Zoom calls that I was busier at home than I had been when I was going to work. And I'm worried. I'm worried about my family members who have contracted COVID. We had a cousin that passed away from it, and we have family in the ICU. So I know that it's very real, and I worry about people not social distancing or wearing masks, because I wear a mask so that I can protect myself and protect other people. And this current moment is so unprecedented, and it's very different from anything that I've experienced in my lifetime. So I'm hesitant, and I don't want to use the word scared because I've overcome a lot of things, and fear is normal and it's a part of life. I don't want to live in fear, but I also want to be cautious of what is out there, of the unknown. But I think if we're being honest and authentic, I'm a little tired. I don't know what the future holds. We're still trying to figure that out with work and with school and homeschooling, all of those decisions that need to be made pretty quickly. And I'm unsure of what I'm going to do next. As soon as this is over, COVID is lifted, I'm calling my sister Esme and my parents, and we're all gonna get together at my house, and I'm gonna throw a big carne asada, and we're all gonna hug each other. I cannot wait to get involved with the Latinx community and have more activities. So usually the fall is a huge time in the Latinx community because that's when we all celebrate different Independence Days from different people. So it's always a really great time to get together and celebrate. And also maybe have like a little do-over, right? Maybe we could get a little pride going, get the NWA Girl Gang team involved, and throw a party. We still have a lot of work to do. I know that COVID has highlighted things like homelessness, food insecurities, access to housing. And these are still things that have been amplified with COVID. And so I want to see how we can get involved with the community. As part of the NWA Girl Gang, I want to see how we can get together with different nonprofits and create, bring a collective of goodness to our community and make it better, because this is a great place. And sure, sometimes it feels like a bubble, but at the end of the day, I know where I can walk down to buy my groceries locally. I know how to source things that I need, and this is home, so why not make it a better place, a more inclusive, wholesome, authentic home for all of our children? That's what I would like.